I don't know the answer. I do want to stipulate that I am not a tax person. I'm nowhere near a tax person. However, I do like to involve myself in areas where I feel that there's a need, and Prop 19 was definitely one of those areas. So without further ado, we'll get started on the presentation. If someone can just let me know that you guys can definitely see my screen, that would be great.
Yes, we can.
Perfect, perfect, thank you. All right, so we're gonna get ahead and start on Proposition 19, the tax transfer. So the Board of Equalization is responsible for equal and uniform taxes throughout the state of California. They are responsible for tax programs, alcoholic beverage tax, taxes on insurers, and private railroad car tax fees. So blame them for the alcohol taxes we're facing nowadays. Prop 13 was a wonderful proposition, is a wonderful proposition that was passed in 1978. And what Prop 13 did was it limits property taxes to 1% of the property's assessed value. This prevents us from being taxed to death. It allows the property to be reassessed to market value when there's a change in ownership or upon the completion of new construction. This includes current properties if and when you build a pool or some form of work on a property that needs to have a permit pulled, then that property will go up in value or reassess to current market value when that permit is completed. Proposition 19 is for seniors, severely disabled, parent to child, and grandparent to grandchild transfers. Oh, sorry. And it's also for victims of wildfire and natural disasters. Molly, quiet. Seniors are considered 55 and older. They transfer the tax value of the primary residence to a replacement residence anywhere in the state of California. So no longer with Prop 60 and Prop 90, we had a restriction. We couldn't go county to county. Now we can. Tax value means year value plus inflationary adjustments referred to as factor-based year value. We'll go into that in a little further down the presentation and discuss what that exactly means. There are rules. The rules for the seniors is that the replacement residence must be purchased or construction of the replacement resident must be completed within 2 years of the original, the 2 years of the original residence. So you have to either buy something or repair or finish construction on something prior to the purchase, after the purchase being done. There's no limit to market value of replacement property, but the amount above the original property's market value is added to the transferable tax value. I know that's a lot. It took me a long time to digest that particular version. The reason that is because that's the math. There's a lot of math involved in Prop 19, but don't worry, I have a couple of slides that we're gonna go over the math and break that down into exactly what they mean. The application must be filed with the county clerk's office where the new residence is located. So it's not where you came from, it's where you're going. Both sides of the transaction, the sale of the primary residence and the purchase of the primary residence, both of those must be complete prior to any paperwork being completed with the county clerk's office for Prop 19. The primary residence tax transfer can be done 3 times in one life. So somebody can move at 65, they can move again at 75, and then they can move again at 85. So no longer are we tied to just once in a lifetime. Now you can do it up to 3 times. Okay, hang on everybody, here goes the math. So Mr. and Mrs. Smith purchased this residence for $250,000 back in 1990. They call and they say, we're ready to sell, we're ready to move on. So the current market value, or what they sell the home for, is $850,000. The replacement property where they're going, their new primary residence, will cost them $850,000. So here the Johnsons will pay $0 in difference because of it's the same amount of what they sold for and what they bought for. Because of this, there's no change in value. Their Prop 13 taxes will remain at the original $250,000. That was the original purchase price of their primary residence. We're going to go through that same scenario one more time. So we have the $250,000 original purchase of their primary residence. They sold it for $850. The replacement home that they purchased was $850. There's $0 difference in what they sold for and what they purchased for. Because of that, their property taxes will remain at the original purchased amount of $250,000. That translates to $3,000. So essentially, the Johnsons here are paying. They bought a house that's valued at $850,000. On that $850,000, they're paying $3,000 in property taxes under Prop 19, which was the original $250 of the original primary residence. Without Prop 19, this $850,000 home would be taxed yearly at $10,200. So you can see here, there is a significant gain in using and utilizing Prop 19. Do want to forewarn you guys that sometimes Prop 19, this value can go up and it can change, especially when we have Mello-Roos and special assessments and particular properties. So just want to make you guys aware of that sometimes you may be involved in a transaction where it's like, hey, I used to pay 3, now I'm paying 5. I don't see much of a savings. Well, the fact is you're paying the same 3, but there's $2,000 more in the Mello-Roos and or special assessments, but that additional 2 would also be added up here in this category without Prop 19. Okay, so we have the Smiths now. The Smiths purchased this primary residence back in 1980, and they paid $80,000 for this home. Okay, they call, they say, we're ready to move. We're ready to move on to our next chapter of our lives. The current market value of their home is 1.2. Their replacement property over in Palm Springs area is $2 million. They're definitely resting in luxury there. So the difference here is we take the 2 million, what they purchased for, minus what they sold for, we have a surplus of 800,000. This 800,000 is more than the original 80,000 that they paid for the home. So the Smiths tax value becomes 880,000. Once again, we'll go over that math again. The home they originally purchased was for 80,000. They sold it for 1.2. They purchased their replacement residence for 2 million. The difference there is 800,000. The new taxable rate becomes the difference plus the original purchase of the primary residence that they sold for a total of 880,000. With Prop 19, those taxes are 10,560. Without Prop 19, this $2 million home would be taxed at 24,000 a year. Huge savings, especially when you start moving into these numbers. The reality is these numbers, it's kind of what a lot of seniors are faced with. When they bought in 1980 and 1990, these were not unheard of numbers, depending. And some places did appreciate 2 million or 1.2 in different areas. Disaster victims, I'm going to pause here for a second. Are any questions? Because I'm going to move from the senior tax transfer. Just want to make sure everyone's okay with the seniors.
I have a question.
Yes.
What happens if there are 2 people? If 2 people sell or 2 people buy and only one of them qualifies?
So one of the seniors has to be a senior, and then the paperwork will be done under their name, so long as that is their primary residence. That's the key indicator with anything having to do with Prop 19. It has to be a primary residence. It cannot be, this is our second home, we're selling our second home, and now we're going to go move here and we want to take the second home's property taxes with us. That's not doable. Only from primary to primary. With the folks that are doing the transition, at least one of them has to be 55 and older. Okay, so disaster victims, it allows for victims of wildfire, our friends, we got to think of our friends in Hemet, our friends in Big Bear, and natural disasters to transfer the tax value. Same conditions for seniors, except there is no age requirement when it comes down to a wildfire or natural disaster. The disaster must be wildfire or governor declared disaster in order for these homeowners to be eligible. The last condition is that the home repairs must be more than half of the home's original value to qualify and be considered substantially damaged. So somebody who bought their house in 1970, their house value, you know, one bedroom burns down in this wildfire. Well, that's going to be more than half of the original home's value. However, somebody who purchased last year and only one bedroom burns down, well, that's not going to be more than half. So we have to take how long they've been in that community and when they purchased that home, and we have to assess what is half of that value in order to determine if they are going to qualify as victims of wildfire or natural disasters for the Prop 19 tax carryover. Okay, let's see here. There is math. We're going to transition a little bit into parent to child. Once again, there is math in the parent to child, and this is where the FBYV comes into place. The original cost of the primary residence for the Johnsons was $300,000. Under Prop 19, the child receives a $1 million allowance or a buffer. So let's just say that this home here for the Johnsons that they bought for $300,000 has a current market value of 1.3. So essentially what we're looking at here is that the current market value equals the same amount as the Prop 19 allowance plus the original cost of the primary residence. So essentially 1.3 equals 1.3. So because of that, there's no change here. So Prop 13 taxes will remain at the original purchase price of $300,000. If there is a difference, if the allowance plus the FBYV passes the current market value as it did in this scenario, we take that 1.6 for the current market value and we subtract the FBYV, and that leads us to a surplus of $300,000. What happens to this child is that they will be taxed $300,000 at the old rate and $300,000 at the new rate for a total of $600,000 on this $1.6 million home. We've seen the numbers when we start jumping from 300,000 to 1 point something. There is a substantial savings, but they are incorporating whatever the difference is between the allowance and the original primary residence cost and the current market value. And whenever there's a surplus, that becomes a taxable amount to the child. Transfer.
I have a question.
Yes.
And the child has to live in the property, right?
Primary residence, 100%. Anytime I deal with anything regarding Prop 19, the minute I hear anything other than primary residence, the answer is no. It has to be from seniors. It has to be their primary residence. Parent to child, the child has to claim it as the primary residence. The minute that child does not claim it as a primary residence, two major things will happen. Number one is that the property will be reassessed and a supplemental tax issue will be issued. The second thing is that the property taxes will go up. So this one right here, the parent to child tax transfer, made a lot of people in the real estate community so upset, so much so that there was a repeal effort this past April. Everyone was really excited about the 55 and older, that we failed to see the parent to child and what was happening there. And what happened was a lot of parents wanted to leave, or their wish was to leave properties as a legacy to the children. The unfortunate part there is a lot of the children probably will not be able to hold on to these properties, because when we start looking at these crazy numbers of, you know, being purchased for 300,000 and now it's worth 1.6, a 1.6 supplemental tax bill is in the thousands. When you jump from 300,000 to a 1.6, you're jumping anywhere between $7,000 to $15,000 in a supplemental tax bill. And then at a 1.6, you're going from roughly, I would say, $3,000 on a $300,000 mortgage or primary residence, your Prop 13. And when you jump to a 1.6, you're going to a $15,000 taxes a year. So these numbers are making it so difficult for the children to keep these as a second home or as a rental. because these numbers are pretty significant and a lot of the children are not able to afford it. So they're in a position where they're forced to sell if they do not claim it as a primary residence. So when we file the paperwork for Proposition 19 with the county clerk's office, essentially what we're doing is we're putting a hold on the state reassessing the property and issuing a supplemental tax bill. And once we issue that paperwork, everything kind of holds. And if the state moves forward with the supplemental tax bill and the property tax increase, there's a way we can go back and fight the state, or when the state catches up, they make their corrections and then they do a reimbursement. But this one right here, the parent to child and the grandparent to child, grandchild tax transfer really, really hurt the community. But there is a loophole.
I have another question.
Yes.
What if the parents have investment properties?
Yep. They will all be reassessed. And
can the child move into one of the investment properties and keep the tax base?
No, ma'am. It has to be the parent's primary residence.
Okay, I have a question. What happens if the parent gifts the property to the child? I've seen many of these where the owner would sell, if they had to sell it to the child, they sell it for $1 to kind of meet the requirements, or they gift the property to the child. If it was a gift, would they still have to be assessed on the old tax rate or just the new?
So if it's the parent's primary residence, because let's just assume the scenario is mom and dad moved to a senior living assistant facility. So they're now 65 and they say, we're leaving our home and we're going to go live at the senior living assisted facility, where it's a rental or a monthly payment or some form of sorts. Then they can say, to the child, take this property and come live here. The child files the Prop 19 paperwork, and then they can inhabit that home without it being reassessed or any supplemental taxes. That's the ideal scenario, but they cannot do that with a property that used to be a rental. And so, or a second home, let's just say it's the parent's second home and they want to gift it to the child. They can gift it, they can do whatever they want, but that child will not be able to reap the rewards of Prop 19 and keep the tax rate.
Thank you.
Trust, same thing. A trust will not save you. The only thing that the trust does is dictates, but you have to meet the rules and regulations and guidelines under Prop 19 in order for you to utilize Prop 19 benefits. Okay, so
I have a quick question. What
Yeah.
if the child is not their child, but their niece or nephew because they don't have any child? They don't have any children.
Okay, so as all the paperwork that I've read and everything that I've studied is always child or grandchild. It didn't stipulate anything about a niece or a nephew or a godson for that matter. I haven't seen anything like that, but I haven't done the research in that direction either. So I would have to look into that and get back to you. I suspect that the answer is probably going to be no.
I have another question.
Yes.
What if the property was the duplex and one of the parents lived in that one house, another one rented out? If I sell it, can I have that do the Prop 19?
Okay, so the question was, one parent lives in one home
Yes.
and the other parent rents another home?
Like 2 units, one's renting and one's live in.
Oh, okay, so the Prop 19 falls under 1 to 4 units. So yes, you can utilize that for Prop 19.
Okay, so just for a portion of it, not for all of the total, right?
If both of those units fall under 1 APN,
Yes.
it's the whole property. So both of those properties, that taxes, because when they all fall under the same APN, it's seen as one, whether it's whether it's 1 unit or 4 units. As long as it's within those 1 to 4 units and it's under 1 APN and it's under 1 tax bill, They all are married together and fall under one,
Got it. Thank you.
of course.
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm just curious, but what if how would they know that that's the primary residence if, let's say, that they don't, no, I'm just saying, for example, like if they don't move their address or anything like that, make any like changes?
So I'm actually, I giggled a little bit because everybody inevitably asked me that question. And the truth of the matter is, I don't know. What I can tap to is my own personal knowledge. And what I do know is that when people make or produce their taxes, their personal taxes, on our personal taxes, we are asked, where is your primary residence? And then when we sell a property, I know that if we sell it and we claim it as a primary residence, we have to claim it as a primary residence 2 out of the past 5 years. So the question there then becomes, how do they figure it out? And I'm telling you, I can't put my finger on it. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure the IRS, don't mess with them, has a system in place where they're verifying that, you know, X, Y, and Z, that the rules are being followed. So ultimately, I think within our personal taxes is where they're confirming where our primary residences are located. That's my suspicion.
I have a question.
Yes.
Isn't it also on the exemption that the parents might have completed so that they can get 7,000 off? Because it has to be your primary residence in order to get the 7,000 exemption.
That's when you do, I think that falls under personal taxes.
No. It's the property taxes. You know, in your property taxes, if you live in your property and your primary residence, there's a card that you fill out. And once you fill out that card, you will see a $7,000 deduction on your assessment. That's how they know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I have no idea, but I know that there's a system somewhere where people will get caught. Don't mess with the IRS, don't mess with taxes. Okay, that's the only best advice I can give to you guys is don't mess with the IRS and don't mess with taxes. So I don't know how to get around, but okay, so I do know a little bit of how to get around the loophole. So if you're working with a investor who says, you know what, I will work with you, but I want to leave this property as a legacy. I want to avoid taxes. I know I can't use Prop 19. On a go forward basis, the best loophole that I found for this Prop 19 and the leaving it as a legacy and the child inheriting properties is to purchase the properties under an LLC. Now, I'm not giving you guys advice. I'm just saying what I've read. I'm not a tax person. This has to be done through the meticulous eyes of an attorney. Cannot stress that enough. Everything that I have read has always said, go through an attorney, must be done through an attorney. But my understanding of the situation is that the LLC will buy the companies. And then when there's a new owner coming or a new president, a new CEO of the company, what they're doing is you're changing who the owner of the LLC is, not what the LLC owns. So if the property owns 50 properties, those properties will never potentially be reassessed so long as the LLC remains intact, because what changes there is the owner of the LLC, not what the LLC owns.
And,
I hope that made sense.
and that's the same with the trust as well, right?
The same a little bit with the trust, but once you start utilizing Prop 19, the trust is not protected under Prop 19. Not from what I have seen. The trust, from what I have seen and from what I have read, the trust is not protected under Prop 19. Okay, so the transfer between grandparent and grandchild, it's the same thing. The grandchild must claim the transfer property as a primary residence. The home will have this FBYV, the $1 million allowance, and it will increase every year in 2023. Here, for the first time ever, we see that the grandparents must be deceased in order for the grandchild to take the property and reap the rewards of Prop 19. Okay, we didn't see that with the parents. We only see it with the grandparents where they must be deceased. This is a sample form. This is for San Bernardino. They're pretty basic forms. This particular one that we're looking at is for 55 and older. This is what you record with the county recorder's office after the fact, after the purchase, and I'm sorry, after the sale and after the purchase, then comes the paperwork, kind of like the baby. So here we have the replacement residence. So what did you buy? When did you buy it? How much did you buy it for? What's the address? If it's new construction, when was it completed and how much was the cost of the new construction? They have a couple of questions here that I can only dictate that they have been verifiable questions in order to verify that you're using A, the right form, or B, that you are indeed eligible. And do you occupy the replacement primary residence as your principal place of residence? Yes or no? The minute you say no, you voided out Prop 19, because once again, it's replacement primary to your principal residence. They want to know where you came from. What did you sell? What was the property address? How much did you sell it for, city and county? There, once again, was this property your principal place of residence? Yes or no? If it's no, you've disqualified under the 55 and older, because then you have sold either rental property or a second home. So just be careful that you're reading through this form and answering those yes or no questions. The next one that I've seen here, the claimant, who are you? Give me your name, give me your date of birth, what's your social security number? And once again, this is the final yes or no question to this proposition. Are you at least 55 and older? Yes or no? If you say no, you've just voided yourself out for the 55 and older Prop 19 tax transfer. Then you certify who you are, you print your name, your mailing address, and your daytime phone number. San Bernardino County and Riverside County are about 6 months behind. So what is happening is people are buying, they're submitting these forms, and then the county's still going in there, doing the supplemental taxes, and they're still taxing the property at the total value or the market value, not under Prop 19. That is happening because of the delay. What happens is they catch up and then they see this paperwork has been filed for Prop 19, and then they will issue you, and I used to say not a refund, but they will issue you a refund, because I finally came in contact with somebody who said, Lucia, that's exactly what happened to us, and we got a refund. I mean, I just couldn't believe that the state refunded money. It was amazing. It was like one of those magical aha moments where it's like, oh my God, it actually happens. This is Riverside's form, same exact form. I mean, thank goodness for consistency. It's the exact same thing. This is LA County. We're looking at replacement, the original. The form is identical. And remember, you're filing this with the county clerk's office to where you have moved to. Whatever county that may be, wherever you went, that's where you want to file this paperwork. This is who I am. Any more questions?
I have a question. My question is the forms. When I go online to retrieve the forms, it says sample.
I went online to retrieve these forms and I didn't get sample.
You did not.
Are you going directly to the county recorder's office?
The county recorder or the assessor?
The county clerk's office or the assessors, either one of those.
Okay, I was on the BOE.
Oh, okay, so maybe I went to the office of the assessor. So I went directly to LA County. I went directly to Riverside County, and I got these forms directly from them. I know that these are BOEs and we get that number here, but this is where you want to download them from.
Ah, got it. Okay. Thank you.
Of course.
Well, if there are no other questions, then let's unmute ourselves and thank you so much for doing this. I think it was very informative. Hopefully everyone has a good idea of what this is looking like these days.
Yeah, any questions at any given point in time, if you guys come across any scenarios, please by all means give me a call. Like I said, if I don't know the answers, I'm pretty good at digging and finding them.
Thank you so much.
What is your contact information?
I put it in the notes section.
Oh, great. Okay.
So
Thank
just go on over to the notes and it's all there. And once again, I am not a tax person. I do the NHD. I have a very simple life, but I'm here to help with whatever you guys need.
Wonderful. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And thank you for Cindy for responding to that email, right? Thank you.
Yeah, that's what the
Yay,
topic-
Cindy. Woo!
We got a lot of questions
Cindy!
back.
Yay!
Okay, thank you so much. Everyone, I guess I was gonna do, this is Realtor Safety Month, if those of you who don't know, so I was gonna go over safety tips, but we will do that next week. So have a good rest of the afternoon and a good week. I am here, Robert's here, Neil's here somewhere. So if you need anything, we're all here.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Don't just throw my name around like I'm available for people to call me now.
I see you sitting there. I see Jesse too. Jesse's here too.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, call Jesse. Cindy, thank you for setting this up. This is
I was not here the last 5 minutes. I don't know what happened. Don't call me. I'm not.
Okay.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
setting this up, Cindy. This was great.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, Cindy.
Well, and I already have next week's ready. I'm so excited. Okay. Well, she said 15 minutes, so I thought, well, okay, we'll do this and the other.
You knew damn well this topic was not going to
Yeah.
be just 15 minutes. People have questions.
Very interesting. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay,
I know, it's
let's talk
important.
it up more.
There you go.
Prop 19. Okay, thanks, guys.